StarCraft is so scary. Oh
Right.
man. Okay, let's talk about maybe the one most important thing, and then I will go grab food, and then we got a tournament to cast, my friend.
All right.
So what do you think in this game is worth looking at?
What do you think is worth looking at? I want to ask you that first.
Um,
Because you
I
were really
guess
scared that game at a certain point, but that's not
yeah,
necessarily the only thing that's worth looking at, right? So, like, what do you
that
think?
that feels like the thing that stands out to me, just because like I didn't know what to do at that point in the game.
Is it because you have never faced a billion liberators before?
Um, I mean I've faced them, but it never goes well, right? I always lose all my stuff, and like I don't know what to do, and when I don't know what to do, I can't make stuff up on the fly. Like I need to know the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Because I get really panicky and I feel like I'm gonna look stupid, and I have a hard time with that, like just as a
Yeah.
person.
So I heard panic Aoret. I heard that voice,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
can different. I was like, all right, he's a little panicked right now, but I'm not telling you the answer. so
yeah.
so that was intentional. It's not because I was like, well, it didn't happen soon enough. I could have just said, hey, here's what you do. Like, I don't want to do that. You
hmm
need to like you made some decisions, and that's what you need to do. You just is it the wrong decision to do what we did? Well, maybe there's a better decision, but what we found out is like this is the way to find out that this is not the right decision is to lose.
Yeah,
And now
yeah,
we have
yeah.
mapped one thing that you should not do.
Right, right.
Okay, so that you're like, I don't know what to do. I've got this army. I've never had like been in a position like this before. It's like, well, then like do something with it. Like find out. Like
Yeah.
be a scientist right now, okay, and like find out what we're gonna do.
So, yeah. Um, you, I do this warping, and you're like warping at home, warping at home, warping at home. I'm like, it's too late.
So actually, like it ended up being perfect because like those four zealots like value, but so like it's okay. Just I didn't want you to warp in the whole warping round and then be like,
hmm
oh, my fourth is gone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then luckily we have these two Colossus that come out to just fight this bio on their own. So
Yeah.
this is what got me off the rails, right? So I'm thinking I'm going to be clever and send a small harassment force at him while we do this frontal engagement. He is thinking the same thing, right? And it all happens simultaneously. And
Uh-huh.
I'm caught up about that, and then suddenly Liberators, right?
Yeah.
And it's not even that many, but now, like, I don't know, am I taking this engage or not? My Zealots have charged in, and, like, I get kind of mixed up because I'm like, okay, well, I think the Zealots are going to lose on their own,
Uh-huh.
but they've already taken a bunch of Widowmine fire. Like, we've already kind of committed them. And then so like I try to move command all my army back together, like in the middle. But then I'm like, shit, wait, no, some of you needed to like go fight that drop. So then I like try to grab some, but I forget to take it off the hotkey. And then I'm like, oh, there's Colossus. So it's like this whole big mess. We can watch some of that, I guess.
Well, let me hit you with an analogy right here.
Okay.
So you've got these zealots that like attack moved into a bunch of mines, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we're like, here, so like pause it maybe for just a second. And we're
Mm-hmm.
like, this isn't looking good, but I already did it.
Mm-hmm.
Should we pull back and run away? Which is definitely the right call. Be like, oh, that wasn't good. Let's like take as few losses now as we possibly can from this
Mm-hmm.
scenario, right?
Mm-hmm.
The analogy is this: you're driving and you look down to text, which is not something you should do.
Mm-hmm.
And then you looked back up and you realize you're driving on the wrong side of the road. And you ask this question of yourself: is it too late? Should I just keep going down this road, or should I like go back to the other side of the road? Now, there's one answer.
Right.
If you make if you make a mistake and something happens, we don't want to keep going down that road. We want to turn around and course correct. As like so, yeah, you're right. You did take a lot of damage on the zealots.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's turn them around and regroup them. We don't want to just full on be like, they're gone and just lose them. You know.
Okay. Okay.
Even if we get away with one zealot, that is one zealot more than you would have if you just threw them all away.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. And this is different from you remember that tank push from like I think it was last week where the charge activated, they ran up to the tanks, and then I turned around with them, and that ended up being bad because then it just like let the tanks shoot them more. Were you there for that one?
I don't recall that.
It it was definitely an HX coaching thing, and he was telling me like kind of basically mostly what you said, but then there are times where it's like if the charge is activated, and this is like earlier in the game than this. This is like when they do their little tank bio push, right? And my army is like maybe 1 sentry and like, I don't know, 10 stalkers and some zealots, right? The zealots charge in. It's kind of too late to turn them around, right? It's like you're sort of taking that fight once charge activates.
That's true. That's true. There's a judgment call to be made.
Okay.
But I think for the most part, you can say, let's get whatever I can back from this. Like, obviously, if you're like, oh, well, we're on top of a tank, kill the tank. You know, like there's judgment calls to be put in there, for sure. Definitely, there's a time when maybe you can and can't, but like, what we need to look at here is like, we want a bigger army so we can win the game right now, and if we can get away with half of our zealots, which was the case we were looking at right then, that's okay.
Okay, I'm gonna take my food break because otherwise we're about to be casting a tournament.
Don't we have another? The tournament's at 3, right? So like, how much time do you want?
Wait, I thought the tournament's at 2.
Isn't it at 3?
No, the tournament's like right now, I think.
Let me check. I thought it was at 3.
Oh. Well, I mean, your 3 and my 3 are 2 different 3s.
So check-in is at 2. The tournament begins at 3. So we're at the same time. You've got an extra hour.
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah, I was like, oh, he's like he's gonna like really cook a full like 7 course.
Yeah, we're making steaks. Okay. Let me pull up the challenge thing. I didn't realize we had more time. We have more time. That's so great. Okay, so
I think you can at least finish this replay.
Okay, so check-in is from 2 to 3. Tournament begins at 3. Wonderful. Okay.
I know that like maybe building the Tempest or like carriers and all that maybe is beyond the scope of where we currently are at. I don't think it's too soon to introduce you to it. Because like maybe you do play longer games like this on ladder because you're like, yeah, you know, let's go to the late game. Let's find out and lose to some late game crap that I've never seen before. Which is the most scary part about StarCraft, by the way, is getting something you've never seen.
Right, yeah.
But like, yeah, like, so for my level of play, I need to build a Stargate when I build a 4th base, because if I don't, they'll get Liberator range, and I'll lose. Because that's just the timing in the game where they have the right production, they get Liberator range, and then I don't have a Stargate in time because I didn't start it when my 4th started. And then I build Tempest, carriers are okay. Tempest probably take a little more micro.
They look way cooler, so I want to be a Tempest person. Okay, so you know those zealots that were in the natural killing stuff? Do you know where those came from? Because I don't recall.
Yeah, I do actually. I'm pretty sure that when you lost that entire army, you had like moved part of it, and they ended up in his natural.
Okay.
Because there was bio there, and they probably attacked the bio, and then you kept moving, and they were like, "There's SCVs," and they just kept killing things. So it's totally fine. It worked.
That's really funny. So like the bio probably brought them to the nat.
Yeah.
That's super funny.
So like here we work in a lot of stalkers. I was kind of scared because of what we talked about a little before, where like stalkers are like what you want. A lot of stalkers. This is fine. This looks like a high level composition. But like it's one of those things where it's like if you control this wrong, like can you win this fight? Yes.
Yeah.
Will you win this fight? I don't know.
Right.
But like your comp with all this, with like the mini storms and the colossi is okay to have stalkers. Zealots are better, but like you do need to deal with the libs. I liked the stalkers. I was just worried with how it might go. Yeah,
I figured I would just try it and kind of like you're saying, like let me just see what this feels like, right?
Yeah, totally.
So all right.
Do you know that if you have your whole army selected, let's say your whole army is only stalkers and colossi. If you have your whole army selected with your stalkers and your colossi, and you click on the liberator, you select fire the liberator. Did you know that the colossi, while the stalkers are killing the liberator, the colossus is going to say, he said to move the liberator, but I can't attack a liberator, so I think what he wants me to do is stand under it.
No, I didn't know that. That's
watch this engagement and watch your colossi specifically.
Oh, Templar.
So just watch the colossi. And you'll see exactly what I'm talking
They just walk forward. Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's not something I knew before.
That is not something I knew for a lot of Legacy of the Void when Liberators came out. And I was like,
Oh,
man, I lose
man.
to Terran so much. I got all these good army and I just die. Why are Liberators so good? And it turns out it's because my army was move commanded
Yeah.
the whole time, except
Right.
for half of it, which was the stars. Like, so you just don't want to move command the Colossi.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So just keep that in mind that happens.
Okay. Yeah. So better to control click the stalkers and say kill this lib.
Yeah, definitely.
Or like I guess okay. So it would be like
A move and then control click the stalkers.
A move. Yeah. Because that way the rest of your stuff does something. Because if you do it the other way, now you've then told the stalkers, hey, don't do what I just told you to do.
Right. Or like if you do it the other way, if you control click and then A move, like you're right, your stalkers could do something else, and your stalkers could blink in alone. And then it takes forever for like the rest of the army to get there while your stalkers are dying. So just
wait,
move it.
You lost me.
Okay, so like let's say that we control click the stalkers and blink, and then we select the army and move it in. If you do it that way, the stalkers are dying before the army starts to fight.
Right. So A move the army, grab your stalkers, put them where you want them, like kind of maybe on the side of the libs, maybe in one liberation zone instead of all of them. Have them engage, and then the rest of the army's engaging.
If you can, yeah, totally. Yeah. So like the big step, small step. Big step, we want the army, the whole army, you guys need to fight. Big step. And then our tiny micro adjustment to that fight, the small step is we're going to have these stalkers blink over here.
Okay.
Right.
I feel like at this point in this game, and I might be remembering wrong, so tell me if I am, you said we can't fight this. Is that true? Am I remembering that right?
You probably can kill it, but like if he starts repairing, you're just gonna lose your 2 sentries. You're gonna lose like 4 stalkers. You don't need like it's not value.
Yeah. Okay. So like the planetary isn't worth giving up this army. That's
right.
the point. Okay.
Like if he's like a genius, if he is like the best Terran player, he'll be like repair that and then focus fire the Colossus with his planetary, and then you lose the Colossus. Like
okay.
All they had to do was warp in with this prism right here and then kill it. Like so.
Yeah. Okay. And it turned out you were right? Because like we didn't really have the stalker count to deal with those libs, like not quickly enough. Okay.
When dealing with planetary fortresses, think this way. Like this might get you in trouble sometimes, where like H-Jax comes up and he's like, "Why didn't you fight that? You could have fought it." But like, just think of this: a planetary requires overwhelming force. So unless you have overwhelming force, just don't. Okay.
Cool. I think for this warp-in, I didn't know what to make. I didn't really know what I wanted. I think
that's probably true. All right.
Yeah, like if we just look at like how long, like I opened the prism, right? I never open the prism unless my intention is to warp in.
You're like sitting there, you're like, what do I make?
Yeah, this is I think where I was like getting real panicky and whining a lot. And then I'm like, I guess zealots are the order of the day. And then I think afterwards I was like, shoot, there's a lot of libs. We just saw a lot of libs.
Pain reinforces learning. You're going to remember it if it's painful. You're not going to remember it if it feels good. Well, I mean, maybe you will, but not as well.
Not as well, yeah. And then, okay, the other thing is I got stuck for a while thinking about this position, like, how can I break this? How can I break this? How can I break this? And then something in the back of my head was like, don't. Just go elsewhere. And that'll be better. I think that's what happened, right? I really wish I'd remade Templar sooner. This one Marine, man. I could have totally still done what I wanted to do here, I think.
I think so.
It like probably would have gotten kind of low by the time the warp had finished. I don't know. I guess it's fine that I played it safer.
It's fine. Oh, you asked me a question during the game, and I said I'm not going to answer during the game.
What was the question?
I remember the question. The question was, hey, I have stalkers, and I know he's got a drop. And, like, if I step away from the edge, maybe he boosts in, and I can trick him and be like, aha, I got your drop.
Yeah.
Okay. And you said, should I, like, try to trick him and try to get more value out of those stalkers? And that makes sense, right? Because you're saying, if I trick him, I get more value.
Mm-hmm.
That's a super logical way of thinking about how to like get more value out of your units. That's really good.
Oh, see, okay. I was like, this feels like there's a butt coming.
Right? You're like, but you said not to do it. Why is this all good?
Yeah.
So here's why. I actually asked the same question while I was being coached by Darkness. Like a few months ago, I said, so there's this Terran, totally the exact same scenario. I said, I've got Blink Stalkers, and if I step over here a little bit away, I can blink forward, and like he doesn't see it because it's just too fast, and like I kill a medevac. Can I like, is this not fine to do this where I like try to trick him and like get value out of my stalkers? And he said, well, you're right. You can get value out of your stalkers sometimes that way. But what you're risking is worse. What you're risking is that he drops. And you're risking that you're not watching. You're risking that he has more than you can deal with. Pretty much the short answer is like, so Darkness is a super vanilla, super macro oriented, like just the, you know, the reign of what we have. He's my reign Protoss, okay? Okay. He just wants to play the super standard game and just beat you at being better. And he doesn't want to trick you. So what he said to me was, just we're gonna put your stalkers at the very front and say, here are my stalkers. I don't want to trick you. I just don't want you to ever, like, think that you're allowed to drop here. Because it takes less actions from you to do that. You just say your stalkers at the front. You're not going to have to blink forward. You're not going to have to micro. And the Terran player, if they do try to fly forward, they'll still probably lose a medevac. Just because you're at the edge, so you get 2 shots in. So. But, like, long story short, is it better to trick an opponent to get a blink? If you're feeling super savvy that day, try it. But the fact is that it's just more efficient to deny the drop at the onset. Like,
okay.
Just say you can't actually drop me. You can't find damage because the goal for him is to find damage, and you're saying, haha, I can get value out of these units, but like you don't need to. You're getting value by not letting him do damage. Okay. So I said a lot of things, but let me just. You're getting value by denying what he wants on the onset.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So I feel like when you ask me a question, I'm like, you know,
no. That was a good answer. So on the same stalker theme, you also told me I don't like where your stalkers are. Where is a better place for them? And I was like, I don't know. I'm doing other stuff right now, and this is always where I put them. So that's what we're doing. What's better, like the absolute corner? So I can see now that I'm looking at my SimCity. I've kind of created a lot of nice little drop pockets for Terran to kill my stuff, right? But yeah,
I would put them at the very corner by that pylon, pretty much, like by the very left, just where it juts out more. I would just put them out as far as possible. If this medevac shows up, we're gonna attack it, and if you happen to be watching, you can also blink back to where you are now, so you get an extra attack. Whereas, like right now, he could drop the front of the base, and well, you can blink into his units.
Right. Okay, yeah. I gotcha. So if we're at that little jut out part, we can move down to like in between the 4th and the main, or we can blink up to the main mineral line, but it gives us, and we're as far out as we can be to kind of receive a drop coming straight in from the edge. Okay, sweet.
So it's like, I feel bad because what I feel like I do sometimes is like I just throw all the information and I'm like, obviously it's not all gonna stick. Like you can't absorb 100% of everything I say when I'm giving you like all of it. But it's like it makes me think of that horrible Indiana Jones movie, the 4th one. I think the one that came out recently, like 2 years ago, with the aliens. Spoilers.
I haven't seen it.
Okay, don't. Anyway, so yeah, there's this point where like there's aliens and like she picks up the thing, she wants all the knowledge in the universe, and it just all goes into her brain and she explodes. This is a long story short. So go on.
What was I gonna say? Oh, I was gonna say, yeah, it's actually fine. Because one, again, remember that the point of all this is like, yeah, I'm trying to get as good as I can, but we're also making content right now, right? And so the people watching, if they're Protosses of my level-ish, are able to devote their whole brain to learning right now. Does this one get a storm off before it dies? Oh, rip. and then the other thing is I watch these VODs, right? I go back and I clip highlights and stuff. So anything that you said that I don't remember, I'm gonna be like, oh, that's a good point. I don't even remember him saying that. Yeah. So I get to kind of like double tap this coaching.
Okay.
This was bad, huh? This Zealot Warpin.
Oh, so it's a planetary.
Yeah.
It's
like,
asking a lot to get stuff done, but like his army, he's got Aoret. What happens with the Zealots?
I think I try to like shift click them onto workers. They decide they want to attack the planetary. I'm like, no, fight SCVs, and they're like, but we really want to attack the planetary.
They do.
I mean, that was just a donation, right? It does pull his army.
Kind of like. You know what would have been better in that scenario? Where like, why did I make Zealots? Well, let's get value. That's fine. That's fine. You can A, pull them away, or you can B, like, do something with them, which is what you choose to do, and that's fine. As long as you make a decision, I don't care which one it is. Just make one fast. Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, just be totally decisive with everything you do. What I'm saying is like hold position your Zealots.
Oh, okay.
And then they don't attack anything. Like a billion Zealots shift clicked it on one SCV at a time is gonna maybe not be super efficient. But if you hold position them and like move command and hold position, every time an SCV passes through them, they're gonna get stabbed.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So like that's what Zergs do for Zerglings in your mineral line, by the way. They just hold position and then move and hold position, and you're like, it's because like if they A move, they're all gonna charge off and attack some planetary.
Right. Right. Okay. Cool. So bad idea to have done that because it was a planetary, and they need to remember not to try to run by planetaries. But if you're already in that position, then hit H.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Or if you feel like being like, I'm gonna be super fancy today. I don't care if it's a planetary. I'm gonna hold H and kill all of his workers, and he'll be like, "How'd you kill my workers? It was a planetary." That
right. Okay. Cool.
Just go with the flow and enjoy the games of StarCraft and be like, "Hey, that was really funny. I just like killed a bunch of workers at a planetary."
Yeah. Okay.
Just enjoy your games.
Makes sense. So now we see these two Colo that I didn't realize were there, right? Even though you were trying to tell me they were there.
But they were using the buddy system, so they don't die alone.
Right. So they take some medevac energy away for their lives. And now opponent has a lot of Liberators. And now I feel afraid, and I'm really scared.
As you should be. Liberators are scary.
Because
anyone that says Liberators aren't scary is not a Protoss.
Like, I don't know how to fight this, right? And like eventually we learn that you just send some carrier interceptors at them and it's like kind of cool. But what if they were Tempest? I just gotta basically do the same thing I did, but just I'm poking with Tempest. Yeah. Okay.
You just like shift click the Tempest on, or like just hold position with Tempest. So like Tempest have a super long air range, but not a very good ground range. So like they're just gonna kill everything in the air, which is either a medevac, a Viking, or a Liberator. So even if you just A move them in your army, like it's not the highest level play to just have them in your army and A move, but like it's still gonna mostly do what you want it to do. The only thing is when you're getting sieged and you don't want your army to attack into it yet, you just click the. You know, you can do that. You just like click those Tempests and we're like, all right, let's walk forward for a second and kill some of those. Okay. Right here, we just engage this army. Like if you don't walk forward, you just lay down 2 or 3 storms right here, and he dies right now. But we weren't looking, which is fine. I can't expect. Like we're not expecting perfect play. That's okay. So like, don't be like, oh no, I didn't play perfectly. Like, doesn't matter. So look at those Zealots, by the way. You wanted to know about the Zealots in the natural? Like, go back 10 seconds. It just happened.
Because I A-moved everything over here. Yeah. And then now I'm saying, okay, A-move at this army. And the Zealots are like, yep, sure. As soon as we're done over here, we're going to go over to that. Okay.
You know, like, attack, move, anything that's red, kill it. Yep, there's red things here.
Yep, okay. So, makes sense.
Look, he loses like I don't know, 20 workers there, 24, whatever it is. It's like,
okay.
21.
So yeah.
And you already killed the third base when you alley-ooped your way into that third before. You killed that and all the workers, and you just killed all the workers natural. He's down 30 workers. You're like, I just lost my army. I'm like, you're right. This is not good. But you've got workers.
Yeah.
Now, does that economic lead mean anything?
Right.
He's got a very big bank, so probably not. But you have gateways.
We could have killed so much more of that if those Colossi were shooting the right thing in that fight. And I saw it too, but like I couldn't figure out how to do it in that moment.
I was super conflicted. I was like, do I just tell him to recall here and just lose whatever? Like just recall and just maybe one Colossus lives. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe just make a decision. I didn't care which decision it was, but I didn't want to like be inserting things into that decision making process.
Right.
Decision. So, like, I'm like, oh darn, the Colossi died, but like we can still win without them. But does he know that?
Right. I didn't.
You're like, look, we've got double robo. If you have one robo, you're scared. If you have two robos and like two Stargates, oh my goodness, like, I could make 3 carriers, 2 Colossi, 5 High Templar, a billion Stalkers, and his army is good at sieging, which means if you find where his army is and stop him and step back and step back and step back, it's going to take him a metric year. I know a year isn't measured in metrics, but we're doing it now.
Yeah.
Okay, like to actually kill you, and then you've got 5 carriers, and like just remember, overall, you just want to be patient, and you'll win. Okay,
cool. So, all right, last thing in this replay then. So Whitexcat posed the question of like, oh, actually, okay, 2 more things. We'll get to Whitecat's question in a second. The other one was, HJax had a really good point in the chat that was basically that my feeling of like how good is, let me see if I can just find what he said. Maybe not. I might not be able to find it.
He said that, like, I remember what he said. It has to do with your army supply. If your army supply is at 0, you think you're losing.
Yeah. Aoret's mental metric on how dead he feels is just his army supply. No army supply is dead. And I think it's that coupled with another thing that he said about me, which is that my mental metric on how good I feel is, have I made mistakes or not? Like, do I feel like I'm playing? Because I will happily GG out of a game and not be mad at all about a game where I like felt I did all of the stuff that I was intending to do and like tried to do my macro things and whatever, and the opponent was just better. Even if like I could have won that game and I, some of those things were mistakes. If I did what I was trying to do, we're like, cool. But if I like make mistakes in that, even if I crush somebody who's like a league below me or whatever, I'm like, oh, that game sucked. And if it's that and they're winning, that's when I'm like panicky and bad. I don't know. So to Whitecat's question though, in this situation, what is the Terran supposed to do and how do they not lose to my carriers? This is what he was asking.
I think HJax answered it.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he said Vikings. Let's see. It's not necessarily like an in this position thing, because like if you both play perfectly, you win in this position.
Okay.
So like you can never assume both players are going to play perfectly. So he needs Vikings, and he doesn't have an economy to support a huge Viking production.
Makes sense.
In this position, Terran's probably dead, and the only way to win is to get on top. You need time. Protoss wants to buy time. Terran needs to win now. He doesn't have time to get the right answer. He just needs to win. So like, he needs to just siege everything on top of you and hope it works.